people here. Yeah, it's great to be here, and I'm so excited to be giving this talk. I'm not sure I could give this talk anywhere else, and I can't think of a better venue to give this talk than here with this beautiful setting. I was reflecting with some other speakers that if you come up here in like shorts and a t-shirt, you should like have to go do push-ups somewhere or something. Like just you need to be punished for not getting up to the standard that this venue has. So my talk today is about Noblesse, Oblige, and this is a concept from the Renaissance. Hopefully, it's on theme with what we're trying to do here. But the idea is that there's a moral obligation for the elite. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So, Noblesse Oblige. The concept came along in the Renaissance. Although it's much older, it was more or less codified then. But the idea is that you have a duty, right? You have to understand that if you are rich, if you have wealth, that you have a duty to the rest of society in some way, shape, or form. And not only that, but there's a Christian ethic of practicing charity as a part of Noblesse Oblige. And finally, the idea of leaving a legacy, right? For people that aren't even born yet, to leave things better than you found them. That's a big part of Noblesse Oblige. And you can see all of the artwork from the Renaissance on this picture, and they're classics to this day, and they're inspirations for a lot of people. Now, the problem is that the current state of the elites is absolutely horrible, right? Here are two people that are definitely considered elite. One is Bill Gates, and one is George Soros. And what do? Well, they have been in the business of essentially pillaging the government coffers through the Cantillon effect. And they're motivated mostly by greed, right? And they use the wealth that they have to gain more power. Even the so-called nonprofits and charities that these people run, it's really in the end a way to preserve their own wealth, right? To further some agenda that the rest of the population doesn't agree with, to give themselves more power and to essentially, do things that other people wouldn't do, but they can because they have the power and so on. And really, the extent of their goodness to the rest of society is limited to bread and circuses. And if you're not familiar with bread and circuses, it's this idea that you mollify the populace, the citizenry, by giving them food, by giving them entertainment, not being transcendent at all, but by just providing for some basic needs, right? And this is the current state of the elites. And think about the contrast, right? Under Noblesse Oblige, and under the Renaissance, under the gold standard, you had beautiful buildings. You had a beautiful environment. You had places where it was difficult to do bad, right? I mean, you can still do bad things, but the more beautiful the places, the more inspiring the places, the harder it is to do bad things. Whereas in a fiat world, it tends to be the opposite. You have ugliness, you have evil, you have just stuff that's not that great. And in that environment, it's hard to do good. And this is the point of Noblesse Oblige. It's to lift everyone else up. And unfortunately, our elites have not been doing that. Now, the historical progression of Noblesse Oblige is an interesting one. Because in the Renaissance era, here's a quote from one of the writers from that era, "From those who are born in a high place, much more is demanded than from common people." And it's this idea that the more wealth you're entrusted with, the more you're obligated to do something good with it, right? And this has been more or less completely thrown out in the fiat world, where people that are rich don't care, right? It's, I get to go sip a pina colada on a beach and, do stuff on my mega yacht instead of, helping other people, right? And even the charities themselves, they're all deceits as a way to hoodwink the public into getting something that the donor wants and not really anything about benefiting everyone else. La Belle Epoque was when Noblesse Oblige was at its peak. And this was under the gold standard, and you saw many beautiful places like this opera house here come into existence as a result. You saw a lot of beautiful buildings. You saw just beauty all over the place. Unfortunately, with fiat money, we come to the modern era where the idea of charity has been completely contained by the growing bureaucratic state, the managerial state. People that think that, that say that you're doing good by having a new hospital wing, for example, or, because you fed the poor somewhere, or you provided t-shirts or something like that. It's about material needs. It's almost entirely monetary instead of something transcendent. And that's caused this idea of noblesse oblige to be completely debased to a fiat capture, where people give you credit for doing good, right, by being part of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, when really you're making profits by, promoting vaccines that you test on like third worlders and stuff like that. It's a horrible system, and it enriches the wrong people and makes it makes a worse and worse environment. Now, the argument that I want to give to you is that fiat money is the cause of this degeneration, right? From this obligation of the rich towards the poor to something that's akin to raping and pillaging the money printer as a way to steal from everybody else. And to understand that, I want to start with this word culture, because it comes from the Latin word cultus. And it's related to the word cultivate, or taking care of something, right? And if you look at the word something like agriculture, that means taking care of a field. That's what it means in Latin, right? Agriculture. And when we're talking about culture, we're really talking about taking care of these things, like beliefs, patterns of behavior, spiritual health, the environment, the civilization, society in general. That is what we're talking about when we're talking about culture. So how has fiat money degraded all of these things? Well, first of all, the moral leadership has changed significantly. We have gone from a society that believes in God to more or less a denial of God, because they make money their God as a result of fiat money. And we've gone from a meritocracy to something like monetary status. Whoever has the most money has the most status. Does not matter how you made the money, right? You could be an investment banker that's just gotten lucky on a lot of 100x trades that are printed from nothing or whatever. But it doesn't matter. That person gets as much as somebody that's created some really fantastic nuclear power plant or something like that. It's completely disconnected from the value that you're adding to society, because the money is broken. And thirdly, you get something like an oppression Olympics, where it's because the fiat money makes it so that the government has most of the money. It's whoever claims the most victimhood that gets the money, right? So instead of earning your way to status, you become more and more of a victim towards status. And it's a sad and horribly, badly incentivized thing. So that's moral leadership. I don't know what, okay. There's also spiritual health, and this is largely due to the denial of God, or making money their God. A lot of people just think in terms of utilitarian calculations, right? What's the most benefit for the most number of people, right? Effective altruism and things like that. And there's a strict monetary focus as the means of bettering anyone's life. It's as if the money is the only thing that people need. And that, unsurprisingly, leads to a lot of materialism, where materials are the only thing that really people can measure, or say that they that makes people's lives better. So the spiritual health is kind of dead because of this denial of God, this very materialist focus of everybody in a fiat society. So to sum up, fiat money essentially puts people into a situation of nihilistic will to power games, right? Where you're not really thinking about the good of other people, you're really thinking about, or how do I get my own? How do I get more power? How do I get more money? And that means that they essentially have zero obligation. There's so many rich people that feel no obligation to anybody because they believe themselves to have earned everything on their own without any help from anybody else. And not surprisingly, that leads to a lot of ugliness because when you deny sort of like a transcendent reality, everything is utilitarian, everything is just sort of functional, you get sort of ugly things, right? And you get a lot of people that have a lot of moral relativism and such. So that's how fiat money has impacted culture. That's how it's impacted Noblesse Oblige. And that loss of transcendence is deep, and we can see it in the culture, right? I put an abstract art painting here for a reason. I think this looks crappy, right? This does not like transcend anything because it's really a fiat sort of way of saying, hey, you have to like this. It's almost like some sort of a compliance test. And it's because fiat money is distributed in sort of like a bureaucratic fashion, right? This is like a meeting, right? And they decide, okay, here's what's good for you, and we're going to make this program, and it's almost always utilitarian. It's not transcendent at all. And that leads to thinking of people as homo economicus, as only people that have they're only economic actors. They don't have any other dreams or goals or anything like that. Instead, they're only replying to incentives that are economic, monetary. And unsurprisingly, when you don't have taste, when you're thinking in utilitarian terms, you get cultural degeneracy. This is drag queen story hour, right? Like this is what you get as a result of a denial of taste, of beauty, of truth. So that loss of transcendence is something that we want to bring back. But to sum up, the moral failure of the current elites is they exploit fiat money. This is what we call the Cantillon effect, where they use that to essentially steal from the population instead of giving back to it. You have a distortion of all kinds of values because they want to justify whatever it is that they want to do. And you get manipulation of public perception, or what we call propaganda, as a way to manipulate the public towards whatever it is that they want to do. And it undermines community trust in the elites, right, for good reason. And we've seen this over the last 5 years, where the elites really don't have much credibility anymore, whether it's in the field of medicine or war or anything else. And lastly, it promotes a lot of conflict and division, and this is how they keep us distracted. This is their method of keeping us distracted while they go and steal as much as they can. Now, Bitcoin gives us a new hope for Noblesse Oblige. It's because it's sound money. And in this world, we can imagine a different kind of moral leadership. That not one that's based on godlessness or utilitarianism, but one that admits that there's a higher power. And that instead of monetary status, whoever has the most money, it's about community status, what you do for the community. And instead of an oppression Olympics, it's all about meritocracy. How good are you at what you are doing? And that leads to better spiritual health. Instead of a utilitarian calculation, we can have taste again, right? Thinking about beauty and truth and things like that. And instead of materialism, you can focus on the transcendent, something higher than ourselves. And ultimately, Bitcoin enables this because it is about mutual benefit. It is based on trade and not the fiat diktat of whoever is in power. And it means that when you are actually contributing value to the community, you also recognize a communal obligation, right? It's that these people made you rich, so you have some obligation back towards them to give them value as well. And finally, that means that because there's an objective standard, that there is a meritocracy, beauty thrives and truth thrives. So how do we bring this world about? What do we do? Well, so here's some practical applications that I want to talk to you about. So first, keep working beyond wealth. The fiat mentality is to get just enough money so that you can sip a pina colada on a beach somewhere and be done with it, and like indulge in hedonism, basically. But wealth is not the only point of working, right? That is not the only point. You don't work just to have wealth. You can work for other things, for the benefit of the community, for truth and beauty, for transcendence. You can work beyond wealth. And many of you in this room are going to be very wealthy. And you're going to, at that point, think about, okay, what else do I want to do? Because I promise you, it will get boring if all you're doing is just rampant hedonism. Second, protect and enrich the next generation. And this is something that elites have done very, very poorly, right? And there are a lot of people that complain about boomers, for example, right? Why are they eating our seed corn and stuff like that? But this has been true of every fiat generation since the Federal Reserve, is that they are motivated through fiat money to take as much as they can in that moment so that they're not necessarily leaving things for the next generation. And this may mean mentoring people. This may mean helping other people achieve their goals, right? And enrich the younger generation. And finally, leave things better than you found them, right? The unfortunate reality of fiat money is that people rape and pillage the society that they're in for all it's worth. And that's the incentive that is inherent to fiat money. Under Bitcoin, you can leave things better than you found them, right? All right, so I want to finish with this story of the Carmelite monks of Wyoming. And if you haven't heard this, it's a remarkable story. These are monks of the Carmelite order that decided that they wanted to, they bought some land in Wyoming and they said, we want to make a very beautiful Gothic monastery. And so they got an architect to draw them like the prince. They sent it out for bidding, and the lowest bid they got was $80 million. $80 million to build a Gothic cathedral. And they said, we don't have $80 million. In fact, they were just selling coffee online to like fund themselves, and they're like, they get way less than $1 million per year in donations. So they're like, even if we got donations for 100 years, there's no way we can make $80 million. So what did they do? They decided, we're going to do it ourselves. So they got some CNC machines, they got stone, they started making various stone sculptures. They got them all cut, they started working on them. They built stuff. This was their labor since about 2014. And they're almost finished. And this is what it looks like now. Right? 10 years, okay? You can just do things. You can just do things. And this is what I believe El Salvador can be as well, right? You're selling coffee, but you can make beautiful things. You can make wonderful things. You can make beauty come alive. And this can be enabled by the people that have the money, right? You have to have a better elite for this sort of stuff to happen. So my message to you with Noblesse, Oblige is that understand your duty, right? It is not just by yourself that you've made your money, right? And practice charity. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, right? This is the basis by which you can practice virtue. And finally, leave a legacy, right? Build stuff for the people that aren't even here yet, right? For the next generation, leave things better than you found them. Thank you very much.